Hi, welcome to a slightly different video from my other video on here. We're going to be talking about one of my other interests, which is historical fashion. Today we're talking about retrofuturism, specifically focusing on designs from the year 1939 through the 1970s. To quickly explain what retrofuturism is, I don't have a slide with the definition, so I'm just going to speak over this. Retrofuturism is the trend in fashion where people, relative to us, in the past, have tried to predict the fashions of the future, usually around now-ish, generally is when people consider retrofuturism, and then it's also referring to a movement now to recreate that style, specifically from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which we'll get into, recreating that style of fashion and design and making it into fashions today, which is really interesting. You make the fashions of the fake future in the real future. So why are we starting in 1939? Vogue is why. In the February 1st, 1939 issue of Vogue, they did a spread in collaboration with the World's Fair, asking exhibit designers to give their predictions on what the fashions of the future would be like. And a lot of these designs shared certain aspects like practicality and interesting textiles and advanced technology. So, starting off with practicality. One of the practical designs given was a heated coat, which does exist. That's a thing that exists. They're not super common because they're expensive, but electronically heated coats and just heated coats exist. Another thing that was in one of these designs was a belt that regulated the wearer's body temperature, which I would have loved. Imagine not having to worry about getting cold and still being able to wear a really cute outfit, like a mini skirt or something. That would be so cool. Why doesn't that exist? Why haven't we figured that out? That just sounds fun. Next is the theme of clothing being very adjustable. They imagined the clothing of the future being way less restricting than it was then. That women would be able to, not be able to, but that women would be wearing pants as more of a regular thing, which it is. The majority of people wear pants. But they mean in relative to skirts, and just clothing with a lot of zippers with adjustable straps, and very flowy clothing, which you can definitely see in the woman in the white pantsuit. She's also wearing the heated belt, by the way. And 3D printed textiles and entire outfits, which we're going to get into a little bit more detail on the next slide for textiles, but the aluminum coat over in the corner is meant to be 3D printed specifically to fit the wearer. Instead of clothing being made to order to someone's exact measurements being super expensive, or you having to tailor it to your exact size at home, you would be able to 3D print a coat that would fit your exact measurements and be personalized to you. That's kind of the theme. Another theme with all this practicality is it would regulate your body temperature the way that you wanted it to be. Things would be fitted to you and also just be more adjustable and accessible, and you'd be able to wear things exactly the way that you wanted them. That was kind of the thing. Continuing to textiles, we have these lovely images right here, which are some of my favorites in this entire spread. There was the idea of everlasting fabrics that would be non-corrosive and unaffected by moisture and acids and dirt and age. This was specifically shown off with this wedding dress, which would be a really interesting idea, because if you know anything about preserving wedding dresses or just fancy dresses like that, you have to vacuum seal them into a container in order for them to not get yellow, or for them to not be affected by age in any way, because the air itself will just make the dress yellow if you have it in a box somewhere, even if it's never seen sunlight, if it's never, if it's only been worn once, all that stuff. Another idea that was thrown out was the idea of condensable textiles and outfits, which is a thing that does exist. If you remember from, the 90s and the early 2000s, there were those, crinkly satin shirts that looked on the shelf looked like the size of a doll shirt, like an American Girl doll shirt, but they stretched out into these, cute little crop tops. So, while condensable textiles do not look like this beautiful ankle-length skirt that this woman has in the picture over here, they do exist, and they are a thing that were, in trend even for a while in the late 90s, early 2000s. And another thing that was brought up in these was outfits made out of non-traditional materials, specifically in this wedding dress, relating to the whole everlasting fabrics, non-corrosive materials thing, such as things made of cellophane fabrics, lucite fabrics, and even glass fabrics, which is why this photo of the woman in the wedding dress is called The Bride in Glass. I believe her veil was made out of cellophane. It does look like cellophane. The dress fabric was meant to be made out of lucite. The beads on the dress and all of the decorations and the adornments that she has on are all glass. So those are all the little details. And the next is technology. Now, there were a lot of expectations about how technology would work moving forward, and then we do have the one more masculine fashion here. We're not gonna act like that isn't a very, very stupid looking man. He looks like he would say something very, very strange, but I have no idea what it is. I feel like it would either be he would speak like a futuristic Shakespeare, or he would just quote Weezer lines at me, and I don't know which it is, but it does scare me. A theme across a lot of these was temperature regulating clothing that would regulate your temperature. This was sort of based off of the rising popularity of technology like AC and central heating. You were able to heat rooms and houses to the exact temperature that you wanted them to be. So what was next? What was the next step for this? It was regulating yourself, your body, your clothing to the exact temperature you wanted it to be. Another thing that was adjacent to one of the photos that I wasn't able to include here was that people thought that the future implementation of face reading technology and a social credit system would eliminate the need for pockets, which a lot of the things that they were describing when they talk about face reading technology or social credit system are generally functions that now are held by cell phones. So while we sort of have a form of the technologies that they were theorizing about, it did not eliminate the need for pockets. It just made us realize how small women's jean pockets really are. I'm so glad I hate denim, because damn, those pockets are small. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that. Another thing that was on a few of these was a watch-like wrist gadget that had a similar function to a modern smartphone. So people at the time were theorizing about how technology that would do, quote, do it all, would affect and be implemented in society in the future. And having it be, attached to your wrist is super convenient, and is why the Apple Watch exists. So, it makes sense when you think about it, about why you would assume that a watch-like gadget would have a similar theorized function to what we now call a smartphone. So next we're going to talk about space-age retrofuturism from the 50s to the 70s. This era of retrofuturism was similar to the 1939 era, but not 1939 era, but the 1939 spread. but it was impacted by many events in the time period like the Cold War and the space race, and specifically the growing popularity of sci-fi media, especially Star Trek. This era also had a more dystopian view about what practicality would mean for the future woman. Dystopian practicality is what I call it, and it's shown in body paint that protected the skin against radiation, makeup and clothing to protect against pollution. One person, when asked about what he thought a need to have accessory for the future woman for women's fashion, or just fashion in general, replied, a gas mask. Then the quote over here says, body paint would be used to protect the skin from air pollutants and radioactivity. And then down here, the people who put together this show that they're talking about is concerned with helping women deal with a hostile environment in the future, because this was majorly affected by the rising concerns about pollution possibilities, and also people thinking that a nuclear holocaust was going to happen. People thought that the remainders of people might have to deal with radioactivity on like a daily basis. The focus was on practicality in harsh environments, as I was saying. So next we're going to talk about media influence, because that is another thing that is definitely here. Look at these lovely pictures. God, I love old media. It always looks so nice. Things like Star Trek and Barbella, which I have a photo of here. Planet of the Vampires, I have a poster of. Star Wars, the Jetsons, Space Family Robinson, which is where this lovely Space Age apparel infographic comes from. It's so cute. I love it so much. And the little outfits are very nice. I did think that the girl in the purple outfit had weed pants for a second. She does not have weed pants. I promise. I promise, no matter how much they look like weed pants, they are not weed pants. That would be really funny though. And then space travel. There's a theme of space travel in all of these, which is super interesting to me because it implements a sort of fashion that I kind of refer to as casual spacewear, where people thought that space travel would be becoming like a more casual thing that you would just kind of do, like having there's a picture here of a group of people having like a honeymoon on the moon, like that kind of like casual use of space travel. I wish we had that. There was this kind of subsection of Retrofuturism was influenced by astronaut suit designs of the time, and it was playing on the idea, like I said, that space travel in the future would be possible and would be very casual. It was heavily influenced by space media of the time, and if you look at the images that I have here, one of them is a modern image. It's of, I think, it's a theory wear design for the recent Quest jackets, the Star Ace jackets, and I love the back design because it's like a retro-futuristic style, and it really displays like the casual spacewear type vibes. Another thing that was being implemented was the idea of more universal styles that could be used for basically everyone. These styles were based on the idea that fashion in the year 2000, as the headline says, would become less tailored and less personalized, a lot more one size fits all. It would also, by proxy, become a lot more unisex. These designs that were being displayed definitely showed people wearing tunics. Everyone was wearing tunics. Belted tunics, not belted tunics, button up, collared, like this man with his little bag. It's very interesting. There are just a lot of tunics. And this contrasts with the 1939 style of retrofuturism, because it had more of a focus on individualism and things being very personalized and very practical like this, but they were like made for the person wearing them. They were personalizing your body temperature to the exact temperature you wanted it to be, that you were most comfortable at. It was 3D printing a design that would fit you exactly. It was so much more focused on the wearer instead of like, this is the fashion and everyone's going to be wearing it, like this predicted, which is just a really interesting comparison. And I forgot about this. Consider this my, like, official, hey, I'll audition to write for Style Theory. This is a joke when I was making this PowerPoint and a few other of my fashion history PowerPoints with my friends that are like, hey, Style Theory is a thing now. You would write for that. You talk about fashion history all the time. This is totally something that you would write for. And it's really funny because Style Theory is 100% something that I would write for. Who knows? If someone who works with the Theorist team sees this and you're looking for Style Theory writers, I'll audition to write, So, hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. Bye!